Skim milk, balsamic vinegar. You would think these would be healthy, but a growing number of so-called health foods actually contain a great deal of sugar. And as Laurie Johnson tells us, it's hidden in places you'd never suspect.
Americans devour a shocking amount of sugar. Many of us consume a cup of sugar a day. That's double what Americans ate 100 years ago. All that sugar can be deadly. Dallas oncologist Gerald Edelman, author of Sugar Rehab, says that's because sugar stimulates cancer cells and causes weight gain.
We know that folks that are overweight have a higher risk of recurrence of cancer and also developing many of the major cancers. So obesity is actually now known to be a direct cause of cancer.
John Speenberg had Hodgkin's lymphoma, cancer of the blood. After following Dr. Edelman's advice to slash the sugar, he lost weight and has been cancer-free for 9 years.
I love yogurt, but when you start realizing there's 9 grams of sugar in a cup of yogurt, I started cutting out my yogurt.
And it's not just cancer. Sugar leads to many other health problems, from heart disease and high blood pressure to the common cold.
High blood sugar is an immunosuppressant effect. It suppresses your immune system. So you're more vulnerable to infections such as the flu. You're more vulnerable to inflammatory diseases such as arthritis.
Sugar's highly addictive. Brain imaging shows reward centers light up the same way when a person takes cocaine as when they consume sugar. And it's tough to get off that roller coaster.
Because you're going through spikes and valleys of blood sugar levels. And when you're at a valley, what's your body want? It wants more sugar. Your body loses its natural equilibrium of, intelligently telling you when it's hungry and intelligently telling you when it's full.
If you want to cut back on sugar, here's a tip. It's often hidden in foods that seem healthy, like this instant oatmeal. It has 12 grams of sugar, compared to old-fashioned oats, which have just 1. Nutritionist J.J. Virgin says hidden sugars are why so many people have trouble losing weight.
What I think is most upsetting is all of these people trying so hard to eat healthy, yet being duped by misinformation, because then they just go, wow, this isn't working, I'm just going to give up.
In her book, she warns about going after low-fat foods.
When we started to pull the fat out of products, we either add or are left with sugar. If you look at a lot of the dairy products, especially like cream cheeses, we'll go to the light cream cheese and they actually added sugar in.
Many fat-free salad dressings are 1/3 sugar. And don't be fooled by healthy-sounding words like fruit or juice. They're often just the super-sweet fructose left over after healthy fiber and nutrients have been removed. Dried fruits can contain as much sugar as candy.
And there's easy ways to say no sugar added, still put it in there. Apple juice concentrate's the worst thing you could possibly have. Apple juice concentrate's got more fructose than high fructose corn syrup does.
Refined carbohydrates are deceptive because while not tasting sweet, they turn into sugar after you eat them because the grains have been stripped of the good stuff, leaving only the starch. Even whole grains and foods labeled all natural often contain lots of added sugar. The same goes for muffins, bars, and popular protein shakes. This one has 44 grams per serving. You should aim for less than 2. JJ divides foods into high, medium, and low sugar impact. For example, white potato is high, sweet potato is medium, pumpkin is low. White rice is high, brown rice is medium, wild rice is low.
A marinara sauce with sugar added is high sugar impact. A regular marinara sauce, medium sugar impact. Crushed tomatoes, basil, olive oil would be low sugar impact.
And what about fake sugar?
One of the worst things that's ever happened to us are artificial sweeteners. This is a science experiment that has not worked.
Researchers found people who use them tend to gain more weight.
But there's also a phenomenon that happens called calorie dysregulation that they saw with artificial sweeteners. When you eat something that's got a sweet taste with no calories, your body can't calibrate the degree of sweetness with how many calories, so it causes you to tend to overeat.
They can also cause headaches and digestive problems.
You have to limit some of these sugar-free products because they have sugar alcohols in them, and sugar alcohols can act as laxatives.
The best advice is to be aware and just say no to sugar in obvious places as well as the hidden ones.
Well, folks, we understand the average American consumes 240 pounds of sugar. Now, this is one 4-pound bag, and we've got a picture over here of 1/3 of the consumption. You see that pile of bags? That's just 1/3 of what people consume every year. You say, I can't believe it. Laurie's here with us. Laurie, you've got in your little hand something. What is that?
Well, we saw the protein drink in the piece that had 44 grams of sugar in a protein shake that looked very healthy. This is what 44 grams of sugar looks like. One sugar cube is 4 grams of sugar. So this helps people understand what a gram of sugar looks like. 44 grams 44, right here.
That's one. That's a health shake?
A protein shake had this much sugar, and you know, you see so much sugar in some of these fruit juices. That's another place that sugar is often hidden.
Well, what are we going to do about it? We're being mugged by the sugar companies.
That's
I don't
right.
understand it.
Education is the best prevention, and so I brought in some foods that are great low sugar alternatives for some of the popular high sugar.
Right to left. You start over there on your right. What's that?
This is spaghetti squash, which is a good substitute for spaghetti. Next to that, we have kale chips in place of potato chips or tortilla chips. Here we have a lettuce wrap instead of your flour tortilla wrap. Here are beans. This is a good substitute, pinto beans, for baked beans, which have a lot of sugar in them. You may notice, by the way, that these beans are dried. Dried beans are more healthy than canned beans. They have less sodium, and with the dry beans, you do have to rinse and soak them, but that method of cooking prevents a lot of the extra gas that you have. Next to that, we have homemade salad dressing, which is 1 part vinegar, 3 parts olive oil, seasoned to taste. There's the recipe up on the screen. Also, the recipe is on my blog, Healthy Living, on the CBN News website. Next to that, we have berries, which are a great substitute for higher sugar fruits and, of course, all those sugar products. Berries are some of the lowest sugar fruits. And believe it or not, things like apples and pears are very high in sugar. So berries and grapefruit are very low sugar. Then next to that, we have raw nuts, which are a great substitution for the glazed nuts or the honey roasted nuts. Then we have olives, a low sugar alternative to snack foods like popcorn. And then we have almond butter, which is a great low sugar substitute for some of those chocolatey nut butters like Nutella, and I think Hershey's has one now. Also, peanut butter often has a lot of added sugar.
Well, you have to read the label.
You absolutely do.
I take the one that's low salt and no sugar.
Right, and look at the list of ingredients, not what they advertise on the front, because sometimes they can get a little tricky with the way they advertise it. Next to that is coconut flour, which is a great lower sugar alternative to regular wheat flour. And then we have the natural sweeteners that are low calorie. First, we have monk fruit.
Monk fruit.
Monk fruit has been used, the Chinese have been using monk fruit for diabetes and obesity for thousands of years. Next to that, we have xylitol and this other swerve, which is also a low sugar alternative. It's a natural sweetener. And then at the very end, like you said, the stevia.
All right. You know, I used to be a fan of NutraSweet, not NutraSweet, but the what's the kind in the pink?
Aspartame?
No, that's
saccharin.
Well, the one they have in Sweet and Low. The
pink one.
The pink one. The pink one. I used to think that was cool. It's not. It really isn't. It sets up a chemical reaction in your body, doesn't it? It does.
Some people have real trouble with those. So generally, these
natural... It makes you fat. I mean, those low-cal substitutes actually cause you to get fat.
They often do, yeah. They really do. But didn't happen with you, but with a lot of other folks it does. It actually creates that craving for sweet, so you're more likely to go out and eat more sweet food, even if you're eating the sugar substitutes.
Is this the major cause of this obesity epidemic that we're looking at here?
I think it is, because sugar is added to so many foods, and a lot of people don't realize that these refined carbohydrates are also sugar. I had a wonderful man email me. He's a regular viewer of the 700 Club. He said, I'm morbidly obese. My mother is morbidly obese. Pray for us, which of course I did. But then he also said, by the way, my mom eats a package of saltine crackers every day. Is that bad? And I said, yes, it's very bad, because your body reacts to saltine crackers, even though they're delicious, the same way it would be as if you took one of those bags of sugar and got a spoon and just started eating.
They're loaded with not only sugar, but salt and the white flour, and I believe hydrogenated oil in the saltines.
Right, absolutely. That's got the triple threat there.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, folks, we're trying to keep you healthy, but Laurie, you think people are going to? I mean, you've got sucralose, dextrose, all those oses. They're all sugar, aren't they?
They are. Anything that ends in ose is most likely a sugar.
Okay.
But I think a lot of it is education. People aren't aware that they're drinking and eating so much sugar. Obviously, if you're having a hot fudge sundae, you know it. But these fruit juices, a lot of people are like, well, it's organic, so it must be good. Just because something's organic doesn't mean that it's not loaded with a lot of organic sugar.
That's right. Well, it's shocking. But the other thing, of course, is that high fructose corn syrup, that I've been on a kick on that one for some time, and it's really, really doing a job on our nation. And there's such a lobby of the farm states pushing for more use of high fructose corn syrup.
Right, the corn manufacturers, absolutely. Yeah. But a good way to avoid eating a high fructose corn syrup is to avoid processed foods, because that's really where you find it, are in the processed foods. Look at the list of ingredients, because they put it in almost everything. They put it in bread. They put it in pasta sauce. All kinds of healthy sounding foods.
A story, Kellogg's, which, you know, way back in Battle Creek, Michigan, Kellogg was the first one that blew up a piece of corn and made a flake out of it, and they had corn flakes. But they have become sugar purveyors to the nation, and they're losing ground. According to this, they're beginning to lose market share rather dramatically to other. They bought Kashi, and then they've started to ruin the Kashi brand.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because some of these breakfast cereals are all sugar. And I hate to say this, but I have a good friend who has a 9-year-old son, and she buys him these really sweet cereals, the ones that are advertised on cartoons, which is a whole nother issue. That's wrong. But I said, you know, that's all sugar. And she said, I know, but my son likes it.
Well, her son is going to get fat and die.
So...
Okay. Well, Laurie, thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, we try to, I know it sounds kind of like the death knell and the, you know, cry of doom, but this is real stuff you're talking about, and it's real health.
And I'd like to point out that I'm trying to show people a lot of low sugar alternatives, because I don't want to just come on here and say, don't eat this, don't eat this, don't eat this. On our website, on my blog, our Healthy Living blog, which is on cbnnews.com, I have a long list of low sugar alternatives to the high sugar foods. And some of these high sugar foods people might be surprised over.
Well, folks, we're talking about high blood pressure, heart disease, cancer, Berger's disease, and some other things.
Arthritis. But then you talk about obesity, which leads to a whole bunch of other problems, too. And I'm glad you brought up low blood pressure, because they're saying now that it's actually sugar, not salt, that is the higher risk for getting high blood pressure. And high blood pressure, as you know, is the #1 risk factor for stroke.
Folks, we want you to live a long time and be healthy. That's what God's plan is for all of us. And Laurie, thank you so much. God bless you.